probably getting ready and to going to bed. So anyway, but can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just
Okay,
fine.
good. Yeah, I've got Alex
It's
here
kind of
with me
sexy
too.
the way you're talking. You're kind of whispering.
Hey, easy now, easy.
Oh, and here comes Maz.
We are live. I thought you were talking about Maz.
Oh yeah, he's a sexy dude too.
Yeah,
Wow.
Oh,
Holy cow, I need to hit record. Give me a minute.
It's okay. It's being recorded. We're live, so there you go.
Oh, okay.
You can watch it later.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, you guys. So yeah. So
Oh my gosh.
so I have to.
Do you have your own 800 number?
1-800. Oh my gosh. So where's Tom? Where'd Tom go?
He's coming back.
Did I scare him off?
Are you guys? Oh, nice shirt.
Nice. Let's see. Oh,
Yeah.
Tom. Yay, Tom. Yay. That's awesome.
That's the good news. So the earbuds don't seem to be working.
Don't worry about it then. Like I told you, if they're not working, don't worry about it. You can take them off. Yeah, take them off. You're good.
Okay.
Tom Niziol, what's the shizzle?
I remember when Roker did that to me when I first came on Weather Channel.
Really?
Yeah, I actually got a tweet from Snoop Dogg on that.
Oh, nice.
No kidding.
Oh,
Yeah,
Very
he
cool.
did that. Schnizzle my nizzle and shizzle my nizzle.
your swizzle.
Yeah, my swizzle. The second day I think I was on air. And mind you, never did TV before. I'm on with Roker and Stephanie. They're in New York. And Roker went to the same school I did. So he said, we go back a long way. He said, but Tom reminds me of somebody that I know as well. So we put my face up on one half of the screen. And then on the other half of the screen, up comes Dr. Bunsen Honeydew from the Muppets.
Oh, yeah.
That was my introduction to live TV. So.
Nice. I don't see it. I don't know.
Tom, I remember you mentioning that last time, and I put together a graphic.
Oh, yes.
With it was a wintry setting in the background.
Yes.
Bunsen Honeydew was up front, and then there was a lower third said Tom Niziol, winter weather expert.
That's right. Yeah.
Spitting image.
There you go.
In fact, we played our lightning round had something to do with the Muppets because of that story.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. It did. Yeah.
So this time around, I didn't pull the Muppets out for this one, so this will be a little different. But
Can't imagine where we're going this time. But
all right, so let's see. We everyone looks good. Tom, if you could adjust your camera a little bit so your head gets a little closer to the top, so we don't cut you off with a lower third.
how's that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Phil, before we get started, can we just
okay.
it's 5
we-
minutes. 5 minutes. So
There's
it's
the 5 minute
pause,
cutoff.
Can we just?
He'll be back.
It's so suspenseful, Greg. You're just
In a
leaving us
moment.
on the edge of our chair.
Can we all just get along?
Please,
God.
please,
All right. I'll wait for Greg to come back because it sounded important. Maybe.
That was dramatic, says Shane.
It was.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
You know, had we been recording the show with the Shizzle My Nizzle, I know that could have easily had been our episode name.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
We could do a repeat. Sure, we could.
Premature
I
math
think
there.
we were live when that happened, weren't we?
We were live. It wasn't in the
Well,
show.
that's okay. It's the
Oh.
pre-show. We can use it.
We'll see.
Let's do them.
All right. So before Greg gets back, we'll just
He's-
verify. And we lost Greg.
He'll be back.
Mike's used mute your phones just in case. Keep your mic close to you if you can, if you got one. And if you get knocked off like Greg just did, just use the same link to reconnect. I think we're good. So I'll start off with the welcome. Talk about it's episode 99 with Tom. What we're going to cover, I'll jump into the 100th episode event that we're doing. And then happy hour, we'll see what everyone's drinking. And Kim, I will turn it over to you to introduce Tom.
I will, and I have it ready. Okay. Good.
So you can introduce Tom. And we'll get into questions. I want to remind everybody, one of the big things that we want to talk about that Tom's got a great history of is the history of the National Weather Service. It's 150 years, their birthday just recently. So,
Not
Kim,
that
maybe
old.
if you want to somehow start off with some kind of a National Weather Service, you don't have to, but
Yeah.
let's maybe cover some of that, and then we can get into other questions later,
Okay.
because I do want to make sure we're hitting that information.
Okay.
And then we'll take a break about 20, 25 minutes after. We'll take a quick break, okay? And then come back with some more questions and lightning round.
Okay.
Anybody got questions? Should we wait for Greg, or we should just go ahead?
I don't see him down there yet, so I can't let him in.
Oh, forgot to mute my phone.
Oh,
Sorry.
geez, man.
Sorry.
That was almost a major.
I know.
Oh, Kim's even turning the lights down.
I'm turning.
What the heck?
I'm doing the lights.
I'm gonna need
The
more
light is
beer.
right.
Here's Griggles. Griggles is back.
Oh, God, there he is. All right, so what was so important you were going to tell me?
I just wanted to hear Kim talk a little bit.
Oh, you'll hear plenty.
You just-
You missed it.
You missed it. I'm going to keep talking this way, though.
She turned the lights down just a moment ago.
Wow.
That, by the way, should be episode
Pretty-
100.
Pretty dramatic.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Wow. There we go.
All right.
Better.
So, hey, let me quick test the sound. How's that background sound? Good?
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's been loud
bad.
the last few times.
Yeah, I know. Well, you weren't here last time to tell me what was off, but so here we go. We're coming in. 3, 2. Hey, welcome everybody to the most entertaining weather podcast on your listening and viewing device. This is the award-winning Stormfront Freaks podcast that's brought to you by Drive Weather app. You can find the safest time to leave as you plan your travel by viewing the weather along your trip with the Drive Weather app. It's available on iOS and Android, and you can learn more at driveweatherapp.com. Hey guys, check out stormfrontfreaks.com. You can check out all these past episodes we've had. We've had guests like the Weather Channel's Jen Carfagno. We've had Storm Chaser, and recently the Australian fire photographer Daniel Shaw. He's had some great photos of what was going on down there. He's been a past guest, but tonight is episode 99.
Ooh.
Yeah, can you believe? I'm getting giddy. It's like we're almost there, but we're not there quite yet.
It's just the alcohol.
It's just.
But it's episode 99, and here tonight to help us celebrate the 150th birthday of the National Weather Service, and I understand just had a birthday yesterday as well. We're excited to have back former meteorologist in charge at Buffalo and the Weather Channel winter expert Tom Niziol is with us tonight. So welcome back, Tom.
All right, Tom.
We of course will hit him up with our lightning round, and we'll also going to have some hashtag Weather Fools, WX resources, and much more. So stay tuned to it for a great show. But before we get to all of that, I want to share with you, and we've been talking a little bit about this. Obviously, episode 100 is just a couple weeks away. I mean, we've been doing this for 4 years, guys.
Really?
And because we're a bi-weekly show, I mean, it's amazing that it's only 99, to be honest with you. But our 100th episode, we are all getting together live in Oklahoma City. We're going to be at the Vanessa Beer Company. Fitting, correct?
Sweet.
This is going to be Friday, March 6th at 8 p.m. Central. But certainly come early. That's when we'll just start recording. But we're going to have a great time. You can visit with us. You can meet the meteorologist and Oklahoma TV legend Gary England. Is going to be there. We're also going to have the WCM at the National Weather Service in Norman. Rick Smith is going to be stopping by and joining us. It's going to be an amazing live event. We're going to have, get this, special Stormfront Freaks Pale Ale beer is going to be tapped. Friday night. We're going to have our own beer, and we're going to have lots of giveaways, a lot more, and then make a weekend out of it. You can join us on Saturday the 7th at the Oklahoma City Penn Square Mall, because they're having the Severe Weather Expo at the mall, and you can check out all kinds of Mets from some of the local Oklahoma City stations. You can see their first response vehicles, helicopters, and win lots of prizes there as well. So make a weather weekend out of it. We're going to have a great time. But let's find out who's here tonight. It's always happy hour when we record. Tonight's no different. So let's find out who's here. MJ is here. What are you drinking, MJ?
I am tonight. We're up northeast where everything swings with a grain belt northeast.
What?
All right.
Where everything
You're swinging?
swings?
I'm swinging, baby.
That's what they say about
Yeah, baby.
Even when
about
it's
going up
that
northeast.
cold? Man.
All right, Maz, what are you drinking tonight, sir?
Hey, I have brought one of my favorites back. It is the Mount Carmel Hibiscus Blue. Oh, yeah, I've had some
Yeah,
already.
easy for you to say.
Blueberry Blonde.
Ooh.
Say that 5
Yeah,
times fast,
no.
man.
Sounds
No.
good.
Oh, it's so good.
Does it
Very
taste
good.
flowery? Is it like a hibiscus flower?
I don't think I've ever eaten a hibiscus, so but it's good. It's one of my favorite. It's over the fatheads too. I
And-
like it.
And we've got Kim Cunningham is in Cincinnati this evening. Kim, what are you drinking?
I am. I have a glass of red wine. So that's what I'm having. My apothic red.
Perfect.
So
You're in
Perfect.
Cincy?
I am.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm up here. I'm picking my mom up and we're going down to Florida. I've got some work down there and taking her down there for a couple of days. So
That's
anyway, we're
awesome.
driving. Yeah,
Cool.
should be
All right,
fun.
Mr. Greg, up in Canada, what you drinking tonight, sir?
Well, why break with tradition?
course.
I'm drinking whiskey with some Diet Coke tonight, and this cool cup. I don't know if you can see that. It says Tech Shop on there. I actually made this mug at a place called Tech Shop in Detroit a few years back. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they give budding entrepreneurs a chance to try out things like 3D printers and do
Glass
build
blowing.
build prototypes of new products and things like that. So it's a cool spot. If you ever
Dangerous.
check out Tech Shop, and
You
it's
made that
cool spot.
mug
yeah, I made the mug. Yeah,
with some glass. Would you blow the glass,
Yeah,
or how'd you make the mug?
They have a process that you go through, and then you sandblast the logo onto it, and
Huh.
yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty cool.
Cool.
All right, so you didn't do any glass blowing, is what you're saying.
I didn't do any.
All
I
right,
don't.
just
I-
wanted to check.
There's a joke in there about,
Yeah.
but I don't want to touch it.
Really, there's not. I was just curious if you were actually blowing hot glass or not. But anyway,
Ooh.
Kim, it's all yours. You got
It's
the
all
mic.
mine. Okay.
Oh, hey, by the way, can I jump in and
Yeah.
tell you what
Absolutely. Are you drinking
All
something
right.
with us, Tom?
Okay, so this is a Grimbergen. There, you got it right there. And
Grimberg.
that is
heard of
What is-
it's a really good German beer. My brother's a beer aficionado. I'm not, but I like to drink it. And as soon as we get done here, I'm popping that one open. So I'll be
Why are you
ready.
waiting?
Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, you
Well,
can drink now.
there's a little professional presence here as
Oh.
well.
Oh, come on.
Not
Oh,
with
God.
us.
That went out in
Not with
the
us.
Clearly, clearly, you've never seen
Yeah.
this podcast.
It's like 45 seconds in, that went out. So
And
yeah.
clearly he forgets that I used to work with Tom and I know better.
Yeah.
There we
Some
go.
dirt.
Okay. I am so excited to introduce Tom Niziol. All right. So, as everybody probably knows, he was the winter weather expert at the Weather Channel from 2012 to 2019. I had the pleasure of working with Tom. Not enough just together, but, at the same place. And so many people love Tom, and I'm sure they're hurting because you're not there anymore. Prior to that, he spent 32 years of his life at the National Weather Service. That's a long time. First as a forecaster, then science and operations officer, and finally the meteorologist in charge at the National Weather Service office in Buffalo, New York. He received a BS in meteorology from SUNY Oswego in 1977. And Tom, it's just so great to see you. It's been a long time. I'm very excited to see you here today. We mentioned the 150th anniversary of the National Weather Service. Now, we understand that you've done a lot of research and a lot of history looking into the history behind it. And actually, Buffalo was one of the originals. Is that right?
Yeah, the Buffalo office was one of the original 24 offices in the U.S. And, it's fascinating. February 9th, Ulysses S. Grant in 1870 signed the proclamation that actually began the first National Weather Service in the United States. And so I did some calculating. Man, I must be getting old. I've been in the National Weather Service for about 1/5 of their entire history. And so there's a connection to the beginnings of the Weather Service and Buffalo, New York. And being there for that many years, our office was actually named after the first director of the National Weather Service, not called that at the time, General Albert Meyer. So Yeah, the history of weather in the United States, of course, goes back all the way to our founding fathers and before that in some ways. But, you know, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, two of my favorites, were both weather observers. These guys, they lived the weather. It was an agrarian society back then. So in the 1700s, Jefferson took weather observations on a daily basis. He brought together friends from the area to put together the first observation network in the Virginia area. And to this day, the biggest award that is given to the cooperative weather observers, the volunteers in the U.S. That provide that information to the National Weather Service, that award is called the Jeffersonian Award. So that was back then. Ben Franklin, you all know he did a lot of things, didn't he? He invented a lot of things. He was an amazing Renaissance man as well. But did you know that Franklin was the first one to actually chart the Gulf Stream? So we've got some pretty interesting characters way back when. But the history of the Weather Service built through the early 1800s and up to that 1870 timeframe. And it was fascinating to see how that progressed.
Was it mainly, I guess, because of like the military needing this? Is that where or why it really got its start?
Well, it's interesting because they're going into the early 1800s, as the U.S. expanded westward, they wanted to get as much scientific information as well. Journey of Discovery, Lewis and Clark and all of that. So as the military expanded westward, they began to take scientific observations. And of course, the scientist in all military installations going out into the prairies and that was the surgeon, right? The doctor, the surgeon. And so they took the observations, and those observations once a day were eventually compiled back at the Smithsonian. A guy by the name of Joseph Priestley, who was in charge of the Smithsonian back through the 1830s into the 1840s, they would gather this information, but it was woefully slow to try to get this data back to a facility like that and then study it. And then there was this huge advance in communications. In the 1840s, the telegraph came into operation. Man, once the telegraph hit the streets, right, and hit the paths and that, you were able then to transmit information in a very quick way to a central location. And as they began to then record these weather observations and get them and put them down onto maps in the Smithsonian, they began to see these patterns that were developing. They began to understand the weather. And they also began to understand that what happened in Chicago yesterday ended up in Detroit today. There was a pretty good chance that tomorrow it might end up in Buffalo, because the weather, for the most part, in mid-latitudes across the United States moves from west to east. So they're starting to piece together all this information. And I wrote an article just a couple of weeks ago on weather.com on the history of the National Weather Service. And I chose 4 individuals, 4 cogs in this wheel that really made the Weather Service happen. The first guy, his name was Increase Latham. This guy was another Renaissance man, a scientist, a geologist in Wisconsin. And he was just amazing. He dabbled in all kinds of sciences. He worked on the Erie Canal, by the way, in upstate New York before he moved out to Wisconsin. But what he found was fascinating. He kept reading these newspaper articles. Now think about Wisconsin, Milwaukee, these areas on the Great Lakes. Back in the 1860s, as the Civil War wound down and we got back to commerce and industry and the country was getting back on its feet, the railroads really hadn't expanded too much into the West. And so a lot of the commerce, a lot of the passenger travel across the Great Lakes in particular was done by ships on the Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. And ships on the Great Lakes without a weather forecast were extremely vulnerable to those storms that would come up so quickly in that area. During the 1868 and 1869 timeframe, 2 years, there were over 1,000 fatalities on the Great Lakes due to shipwrecks. And most of those shipwrecks were due to storms. So it's just an amazing statistic there. And this guy, Latham, he's reading this information and he's now understanding that we're able to now get an idea of these storms coming from west to east by these weather observations that are being taken. So he sends a letter to his congressman, second cog in the wheel, a guy by the name of Halbert Payne. He was a congressman out of Milwaukee, and explained
There's a
all of this.
Wisconsin connection here, Tom.
Yes, definite Wisconsin
Wow.
connection.
Yeah.
And so Halbert Payne ends up putting together a resolution that he takes to Congress because of all these fatalities to begin a National Weather Service to provide the ability to take observations and possibly even predict storms on the Great Lakes. And on February 9th, 1870, Ulysses S. Grant signed the proclamation, and we ended up with this weather service. But it had to be, you're taking the scientific data, it has to be brought into a central location, it has to be plotted up. The guys and guys mainly back then taking those observations had to really, really toe the line. And so this became a military-like operation. And the guy that headed up the Weather Service to begin with was a guy by the name of General Albert J. Meyer. He was actually developed the flag system called the Wigwag signaling system during the Civil War. And he was really, really an astute scientist as well as a medical doctor. And Meyer was able to bring together this military precision and this military work ethic to develop these 24 forecast offices in the 1870s.
So when was, because you were talking about the Great Lakes before, when was the Edmund Fitzgerald? When was that?
So that was November of 1975. And, that was the largest ship on the Great Lakes. And that unfortunately, that went down with a tremendous loss of life in one of those tremendous Great Lakes storms. And so it's understandable the loss of life that occurred on the Great Lakes because of what was happening. So they get 1870s now come along. They get these 24 forecast offices. They're able to transmit this data, get this information. And now we bring the fourth cog in the wheel. This guy was, his name was Cleveland Abbey. And he was a scientist that hailed out of Cincinnati. He was in charge of I believe it was their observatory in Cincinnati at the time, but he was an amazing scientist. This guy he dabbled in all sorts of science, and he really understood the science of weather back at that time, of meteorology. Abbey came into this National Weather Service in the late 1870s. Meyer brought him in to provide the science and the training to all of these officers that were stationed at these 24 offices across mainly the Great Lakes region in the Northeast. And Abbey brought the latest in scientific principles, the latest in physics and thermodynamics that was being developed during that time frame to these observers who had to study and take coursework as they worked in these offices. It was really something to read about, really something to see at that time. Now,
I don't know. I think Greg had a question for you, but I think we lost him for a second.
All right,
All right,
Greg,
I'm back.
we waited for you to come back and ask your question. So shoot.
All right. Here's my question, Tom. I mean, it's no secret that all of us have very short-term memories. What happened this week is the biggest news story going, whether it's weather or news or anything like that, and we forget about the history. But if you were to look back in the 150-year history of the National Weather Service, taking into account, the sort of bias towards recent events, what would be, if you had like a top 3 weather stories from the last 150 years? That's a big question. I know, maybe pick one, but what would be the biggest thing that happened over that period of time?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, right? I mean, from a historical standpoint, I think one of the biggest certainly was the Galveston hurricane. Isaac Klein, what happened back in 1906, tremendous loss of life. Again, with an infant weather agency that certainly could take weather observations across the land areas of the United States, but knew next to nothing about what was coming in off the Gulf of Mexico. That probably to me was one of the biggest biggest catastrophes, certainly. As you move through the decades, going through the early 19th or 20th century, some of the massive tornadoes that occurred, the tri-state tornado, a type of severe weather, again, tremendous loss of life there. Several flood events, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, 2 significant major events that produced tremendous fatality. The Big Thompson Canyon flood outside of Boulder, Colorado. Now we're going into the 70s and a time frame when you think that, man, we got it all covered now. We don't have any worries here because we're able to predict this. Well, we're not, especially severe types of weather. Oftentimes on the time scale and the spatial scales that they develop can still produce tremendous catastrophic impacts if everything comes together in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I often find that with weather catastrophes. Every one of these little factors can come together and produce some type of impact. But if you bring them together in the wrong place at the wrong time, the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. And that's what produces the catastrophes. And we can run right up to Katrina, in one of our most recent catastrophic events. And even, unfortunately, just a year or so ago, 2 years ago, Michael coming into the Gulf Coast, that hurricane as well. So, and it's
a long list. It's a long list.
It is a long
It's a very long list. Tom, one quick question before we head to break, but is there anything that you're aware of in the history of the National Weather Service where they delved into something and then we're like, yeah, that's not really our scope. Let's get back out of that and not do that or give it to somebody else? Or is there something they're doing now that's maybe not within the scope of what the original design of the National Weather Service was?
Well, I think there's beginning probably in the 1980s in the Weather Service with the advent of bringing a science officer into those offices, the ability to conduct on-station research and really infuse even more of the technology and science quickly into National Weather Service offices was huge for them. It's not something that was done in the decades leading up to that. So I think that was a really important factor. One other thing, by the way, that the Weather Service really is doing well these days, and this is part of their mission to protect lives and property, is decision support. Being able to communicate with emergency managers and local officials as to what the impacts of this type of weather are going to be. Everybody gets a forecast, but the impacts can be extremely important. And knowing those and communicating with Weather Service offices is that's part of the prime mission.
Good. We'll talk about impactful weather, with the winter weather still threatening right now, and people are starting to plan their spring trips, whether RV trips, motorcycle trips. Mm-hmm. I need to tell you guys about the Drive Weather app. And I know, Kim, you guys do lots of motorcycle trips, things like that. When I would go on long trips, especially in the winter, but even when it was cross country, spring, summer, things like that, what I would do, and Tom, you would appreciate this, I would look up each of the National Weather Service websites on my path to where I was going, and I would pull up their hourly forecast to see when I was driving through that area, what was the weather going to be like? What could I expect when I was going through their territory? And what's great about the Drive Weather app is it's taken care of all of that now for me. With the slide of a timeline at the bottom, I can see when the weather will be in my favor along my route when I get there. So it'll show me what the weather's going to be when I'm getting to that location on my trip, which is huge. Yeah. The Drive Weather app, it's on iOS and Android. You can get a free version that will show you the forecast for the next 2 days, and it will give you city-to-city routing. But for just a $9.99 a year subscription, you get the next 7 days forecast, and you get address-to-address routing as well. It'll show you wind speed, precipitation type. So you can decide that, hey, maybe leaving at 7 a.m. today is not best because I might hit something when I'm in New York, it might be better if I wait till 10 a.m. to leave because it'll be gone by then. That's what's great about this app. You got to find out more. Go to driveweatherapp.com. So, hey, let's get another drink. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Tom and, of course, play the good old lightning round. All right. Good. Greg's still with us. That's good. All right.
I'm really pissed off about this. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. It happened to all of us.
That's
Believe
all right.
it.
Yeah.
It's
all your
Absolutely.
kids
That's,
playing.
that's
on the
an
Xbox.
easy edit compared to many of them that Phil gives me. So
Well, I
Kim,
think
right?
I think I'm going to have to get on the horn with my ISP and find out what the deal is because I'm paying for the best.
does it
So,
happen to you other times doing other things?
Yes.
Oh, it does. Okay, so it's not just this.
In
Yeah.
Canada, is the
Wait.
best like 5 megabits a second? Or what are we talking?
Yeah. Where
Mean up
are
here
you,
in our
boy?
third world country.
Whereabouts in Canada? Like Great Slave Lake or?
Well, you know what? I was up at Great Slave Lake last month, but I'm in Saskatchewan.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so right in the heart of the prairies.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, we get our fair share of good weather, but the big thing right now is this time of year is aurora. So I'm out almost every night photographing northern lights.
This is pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's
Really?
fantastic. Yeah. Some night I was out 2 nights ago, and the aurora just like 360 degrees covered the sky all over the place. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
great.
wonderful. Wow.
Have you ever seen it, Tom?
I've again in Buffalo. I've actually seen them a few times, but I spent some time in Iceland and in Alaska, and in both places I saw amazing displays. Yeah, it was really something.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
All right.
So-
Good job. Go ahead, MJ. What do we got?
I was gonna say, just shout out to a few. We got a whole bunch of people watching us tonight. This is a comment here from Shane Adams. I thought was fun.
Excuse me.
Which was
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Dim lights out swinging.
Oh,
Crazy night.
Hey, only on the Stormfront Freaks
geez,
podcast after
Cincy.
hours.
Timothy gives a shout out here to the National Weather Service. Very nice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to say this, guys, as a foreigner, all right, since, I kind of am a foreigner. When I hear people south of the border, and by south of the border, I mean in the United States,
Right.
complaining about the National Weather Service, they clearly have not been anywhere else on Earth, because the National Weather Service in the United States is like by far and away better than what we have up here in Canada. I mean, it's great here. We just don't have the resources.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good job, Niziol.
Well,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
by the way, many of my relatives are from Southern Ontario, and we have when I was in Buffalo, I had a very close relationship with Environment Canada. In fact, we developed with the Toronto Weather Office, and I know all the guys and gals there, a Great Lakes Weather Conference that's in its 27th year now, between the U.S. and Canada. So,
But you must notice the difference, though, in resources that NWS has versus Environment Canada.
Tremendous. I spent time with the guys developing your network radar system out of King City in Ontario, Canada. And their research contingent was composed of 3 guys. At the same time that our Doppler radar program probably had about, 8 or 9 dozen scientists working on it. 3 guys, and they were amazing at what they were able to do with their resources. Wow. Yeah, so kudos to Canada.
It's a big landmass and not a lot of people.
A lot of territory to cover. Yeah.
Are we back yet?
All right. No,
No,
so
we're
we'll do
not.
this.
Oh, okay.
So when we come back,
material.
I got a question for him.
We'll keep some questions. I'll ask one, but keep mine short, and then you guys can jump in, and then I don't know, about a quarter till or something, we'll jump in with the lightning round, and then we'll close up and take another break. Any questions? Everyone good?
Everybody's good.
Little shout out to everybody watching us live. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we're coming back. 3, 2. Hey, welcome back, everybody. So we're with Tom Niziol, former MIC at the National Weather Service in Buffalo. but also recently retired from the Weather Channel as the winter weather expert. So, Tom, I think your retirement is rather short so far, if I'm correct. But I want to know a little bit, why was the timing right for you? And then tell me why Tennessee?
Yeah, here's a guy from Buffalo, New York, spent a few years in Atlanta, ended up in eastern Tennessee, about a mile from the Appalachian Trail, by the way. It was time to play. I had an old timer who retired. I remember a number of years ago, I talked to him and asked him why he retired. He said, Tom, he said, I got this fishbowl here with all these marbles in it. And every year on my birthday, I take another marble out. And you know what? There's not many marbles left in there. So if you get a chance, get out and play. And that's what I've decided to do. I've moved to the mountains here. I love hiking. And I still, with the technology we have today, I'm directly connected to the weather all the time. So it's been a lot of fun.
So what you're saying is you wanted to retire before you lost all your marbles?
Yeah. And most of them are gone, as you can see. Yeah. But, I still keep busy. I write for weather.com and Weather Underground. I have a lot of fun doing that. And I have this little hobby. In the wintertime, I try to photograph snowflakes. Now, it's been a little challenge this year, even in the mountains of Tennessee, but that keeps me busy as well. So, and listening to a lot of mountain music up here too, which is good.
You're about 3,400 feet. Is that right, where you are?
We're 3,700 feet here. So, it's just high enough here to get 4 distinct seasons. And in fact, the seasons at 3,700 feet here are similar to where I was in upstate New York.
Cool.
That's very cool.
So you were 32 years in the National Weather Service?
Yeah, all in Buffalo.
So when you were, what do they give you? Like a car, a pin?
Yeah, I mean, at 32 years, you get a little pin about that big that you put on your lapel, and a thank you, and you're a civil servant, but you're playing with the weather on a daily basis. I mean, how can it get any better than that? It was wonderful, and I got to operate in this little natural laboratory in the Great Lakes with all kinds of amazing weather. Least of which was lake effect snow, which I just love.
And you were instrumental in writing a program, right, to actually forecast, lake effect snow.
Yeah, we had a great time there. I collaborated with a guy by the name of Ed Mahoney. Some of you may know him. He's in charge of the Warning and Decision Training Branch out in Norman, Oklahoma. When he was in Buffalo, the two of us developed a program called BuffKit, which was essentially a forecast tool developed by forecasters for forecasters in an operational environment. And it's still in use in forecast offices across the U.S. and Canada these days. So, just fun. I mean, where else can you come to work every day and you get a different type of weather on a daily basis, a different problem that you have to solve, and you're just enjoying what you're doing. So that was great. I'll tell you what, there was a little challenge going from local weather to having to cover weather on a national scale as an expert. Any given day at the Weather Channel, I'd be looking at snowstorms coming into the West Coast, a Colorado low developing, producing snow there, blizzard conditions in the Dakotas, lake effect snow, and the development of a nor'easter after an ice event occurs in the Southeast. Right, Kim?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember those days.
Yeah.
Such a challenge.
1993, the big storm of the century. I was at the other end of Lake Ontario in Messina, New York, and got stuck. Spent a couple of days there, couldn't get out because the snow was up over the roof, the soffits and stuff. What was your experience at that event? That must have been a big one for your office.
Well, it was a big event from the snow side and the wind side as well. And by the way, for those who don't remember the superstorm of 1993, what month did that occur in, everybody?
March.
I would say March or April.
13th. March.
Yeah,
13th.
March. Yeah.
So don't be writing off winter yet, because these storms in March can be real doozies. Well, heck, it was a 2-3 years back, we had 4 significant nor'easters develop during the March timeframe.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're still staying in a positive AO status right now as we go through the next few weeks. But there's an interesting little feature that could be coming through toward the end of February. We'll have to watch for winter weather as well. But yeah, these, you know, that 93 storm was absolutely amazing.
It was amazing. It was certainly one I'll never forget, where I was and who I was with and all that kind of stuff. It was amazing.
So being in Buffalo, what was the biggest one for you? What's the one you're just like, oh, we got 93 feet, you know?
Well, the biggest snow event I had when I worked there was back in it was Christmas 2000 or 2001, the Christmas week. The city of Buffalo picked up 82 inches during that week. And I mean, even for Buffalo, it was significant. What was amazing is the kids were all on Christmas break. So there wasn't as big an impact because there wasn't a lot of traffic on our roads. But the big problem, Buffalo's a old northeastern city, small city streets. There was nowhere to put the snow. I mean, they had to bring in front end loaders for a couple of weeks to actually come in and remove that snow, because you can't shovel 82 inches of snow when you're in these houses in the city that are so close together. So that was an amazing event there. And been tremendous events off of Lake Ontario. I think it was back in 2007. It was about a 7 or 8 day event where a town by the name of Redfield, New York, right in that Tug Hill area off of Lake Ontario, picked up 147 inches of snow. So, yeah, it's sick, isn't it?
That is sick.
Yeah.
I have a question, Tom. This is talking about lake effect snow. What, when did they realize, or how did they realize, and I'm sure it was before your time, but that there was lake effect snow? I mean, was it because of satellite radar? Did they realize it was because of the lake?
Yeah, they were able, even back into the teens in the 1920s, there were forecasters who understood that when the wind was a certain direction and the air was cold, that you would get these narrow areas of snow that would come down. And then as they worked through the 30s and 40s, they began to get a better understanding when we finally began to get upper air data. But heck, I remember, here we go, I'm so old that when I first started in the Weather Service, we were working with computer models that didn't even see the Great Lakes. A model called the LFM model, which was our operational model of the day, right?
Yeah.
It didn't even have grid points over the Great Lakes. And so it didn't see them. What was fascinating about that is we could beat the model every single time in predicting lake effect snow. And we actually could beat our chest on that because we developed forecast rules of thumb at the time and an understanding when certain conditions would develop, how these snow bands would set up. So, you know, it wasn't that long ago in my lifetime, certainly, but I remember the first couple papers I published. At the end of those papers, it was like future research or future work. And I kept talking about the fact that, my gosh, I can't wait till we get high resolution models that can see the Great Lakes. And wow, we're there now. It's amazing to see what these models can do as far as delineating where these snow bands can develop.
Yeah, they used to call it the limited fine mesh. We should have been called the very limited fine mesh.
Yes,
And I heard NOAA just gave, what, $500 million for more, I guess, to upgrade the computer models? I just heard that today. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you hear anything about it? Yeah.
Now that was from where, Kim?
NOAA, I saw it on Twitter from, I guess it was from NOAA, that they just gave I thought it was $500 million to upgrade our computers, our forecasting models, to get us in, to compete with the Euro.
Well, not only in the best sense of the word, compete with the European modeling. By the way, the Canadian modeling system is making strides. It continues to make strides. There's a tremendous amount of money that's being pumped into modeling systems around the world right now. And our nation, because there is so much that has to be done in this nation to support our nation in so many different ways, oftentimes some of the sciences will suffer. And we continue to fall farther and farther behind in many of the computer applications and the modeling efforts that are being made in daily weather forecasting. And so if this news has come out, this is amazing news. And I hope that our president and our politicians will be able to continue to support and advance in research so that we'll be able to stay at the top of our game and in providing safety to the nation.
Yeah, that was great news. Great news today.
Hey, Tom, quick question for you before we keep moving on. Last time we had you on, we talked a little bit about a fact. One of your hobbies was photographing snowflakes.
Yes.
And my understanding is you're still doing that.
Oh, coming from Buffalo, I mean, growing up, you lived with the snow. You saw the snowflakes every day, and I really took a fancy to them. And when I got my first camera, I read about a guy by the name of Wilson Bentley in Jericho, Vermont, who lived in the late 1800s, who photographed snowflakes with a camera and a microscope. And so that's what I started doing. And I'm having a riot doing it. And anybody can do it. My gosh, get yourself there's an example right there. There's a few snowflake photographs I took a couple of weeks ago. Those are snow crystals, and that background right there is actually the threads from my fleece jacket, my black fleece jacket. So it gives you an idea of the how much I've zoomed in to actually take those photographs.
Dude,
So,
dry cleaning.
that's what we need, isn't it? And every flake is different. Every snow crystal is different because they take a different path coming down out of the clouds down to Earth. But there's a guy by the name of Ken Liebricht, Dr. Kenneth Liebricht at Cal State. He's a nuclear physicist, and he has actually, for the last few years, worked in the lab in making designer snowflakes. And if they can actually control the conditions in the lab, you can make a snowflake that has a twin, an exact twin to it. It's really fascinating to see. Go to a site called snowcrystals.com. And if you're interested in snowflake photography, and that's going to blow you away. It's amazing what this guy has done.
Oh, hey, that's the sound. It is time.
Thunder snow.
That's our time for the lightning round. So, Tom, if you remember, this is our game show of flashy questions that we always play with our guests, and we invite everybody else to play along. Tonight, we're going to play, I'm calling this baby Clue. Yep, I'm calling it Clue.
Yep.
And so this is going to be popular movies about winter.
Oh,
Popular movies about winter.
all right.
Yeah, you probably wanted me to stick with the Muppets theme, I bet.
Yeah, I would have been good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So popular movies about winter. So here's what I'm going to do. So Tom, you have to switch out of the private chat. If you can see on the right-hand side, it says private chat. You got to switch it over to live comments. We'll let our listeners maybe help you out a little bit on this, but I'm going to type in the name of a movie so that our freaks can see the name of the movie in their private chat, and then I'm going to go around the horn, and each one can come up with a short little clue about that movie without saying the movie name. So you can't say the name of the movie, but you can give a quick little clue. You can't tell a story about it, but you can give a quick little clue. And Tom, it's up to you, whether it's after the first clue, the second clue, the third, or the fourth clue, to try and come up with the name of the movie. You with me on that?
I'm clueless.
Your pin size gets smaller too. With each
So
question.
these are all movies that have to do with winter. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna put the first movie up on the board, and I'm gonna start with Greg. Greg, give Tom a quick little clue about this movie. See if you can guess.
There's no chance you or I have ever watched this movie ever, Tom. Guaranteed.
Okay, well that was a great clue. I'm gonna
That
move on
narrows
to
it down. Okay.
Maz, give a clue about this movie.
So do you want to build a snowman?
Good. No guess yet. Okay, Kim,
Olaf,
give another clue.
Disney
Oh.
movie.
Disney movie. Olaf's in it. And,
Recent?
Okay, Kim, give him a good clue.
Recent.
How about
Yeah.
I got it. Frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Okay, I'm gonna.
Hey, Tom, have you seen it?
I saw part of it. Just
Oh,
yeah.
damn! I was wrong. My clue was bad then.
All right, next movie is on the board, and I'm gonna start with MJ. If you remember what this movie is, can you give a quick little clue?
I do. New York City.
New York City has to do with winter.
Mm-hmm.
New York City in winter.
Greg, got a clue?
Giant snow hurricanes.
Giant snow hurricanes. New York City winter.
Okay, Maz.
Saturday.
Oh, Home Alone.
What? What was that?
Home Alone.
Stress again. Saturday.
No, that's not. Kim, give him one more
Saturday
shot.
is the
Give him one
day
more
after
shot.
tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. Greg got
He
it.
gave it to you.
Okay.
Oh.
Good. Okay, good enough. So here I'm doing. Typing the next one up is on the board. Kim, I'm gonna start with you. Give Tom a clue about this winter movie.
Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
Oh, Estes Park.
Here's
MJ?
Johnny.
MJ.
Oh, that was mine.
That's
Here's
two
Johnny.
clues, Kim.
Here's Johnny. That was my
You're
clue.
cheating.
Clue hog.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Red rum.
Okay.
I've got the location. I've got
Maz?
Nicholson. The
Maz,
Shining.
go ahead.
The Shining.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it, baby.
Okay.
That's
I
it.
knew he'd get it.
That's okay. Here we go. Next one is coming up on the board. Now, Kim, Maz, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that one.
Okay. Give Tom a clue about this winter film.
Woolly mammoths.
Okay, good. Kim, one clue.
Penguins.
Penguins.
Oh, okay. So it's a Disney movie.
I think penguins. I think is off on that one. She's thinking of
Sloth.
I think
MJ.
Yeah. Well, what
Stick
Greg
with
was
the
gonna
woolly
say,
mammoths.
But
What
the
was
woolly
sloth?
mammoth cartoon.
Sloth.
Cartoon.
Sloth.
Sloth.
Greg, you're jumping in. He's just worried he's going to get cut off. His internet's going to shut him down, I think.
Maybe
I gotta-
I know our online folks are trying to help you out, Tom. I'm
Okay.
sure
How
you're seeing
how about Happy Feet?
Now, I'll say this.
You're going with
Had you
Park
listened to
Rim.
Kim, had
You're
you
going
listened
with
to
Parker and
Kim,
I
I would say yes, but the answer is Ice Age.
Yeah.
Ice Age.
Was there
All
even penguins in Ice Age?
I
That's
know.
Madagascar.
That's why I said she
Yeah. So
was off.
Kim, like you
Shit.
were like Kim. That's like the
That was
meanest
like
thing
March
you
of
could
the
do to Tom.
Penguins or something.
Well, you gave
Kim-
him the answer before, so I thought I'd.
All right, here we go.
So
Next
I got
movie.
it. I just got Kim. How is that Apothic Red?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's,
That's a good
I need a refill, actually.
It's delicious.
There's snow and that's two clues. Oh
All
no,
right,
that's
next
one.
movie. Next movie is up. Maz, I'll start with you.
I'm terrible. This is okay.
We're the fighting Sioux of
Okay, Kim.
Oh,
North Dakota.
Okay.
Wood chipper. Wood chipper.
Fargo.
What?
Fargo.
Fargo. Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't think that was your
I
voice.
missed your accent there for a second.
Aren't we the fighting Sioux
Let
of
me
North
say it,
Dakota?
yeah.
You? Oh no, they had to
No,
change their
no,
name,
that's
didn't they?
No, that's in Grand Forks, sir.
Oh,
Fargo is the bison.
Yeah,
Dang it.
Grand Forks was the sequel. Didn't do so good.
dude. Madagascar.
Not the
All right,
same.
so here we go. This is the last one.
Oh, thank God.
Last one. And Greg, you got to shut the hell up until I call your name, buddy. You're
Wow.
jumping in. I'm like, what the fuck,
Whoa!
dude?
Well, just to
Wait,
be
wait,
clear, I didn't give him the answer.
50.
There's a time zone change for him.
Pretty good. All right, so here's what I'll do. So here, movie's up. Greg, I'll
Can we
let you
start
start.
with me this time? Yeah,
I'll
okay.
start with you
There
and then
go.
shut up. Okay,
Yeah.
go.
Wait, I didn't see the name.
Go.
Yeah,
oh,
we're-
I'm sorry.
I'm like,
There you go.
same movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's up.
Oh.
Greg, you got one? Clue? Winter movie.
Fishing in Minnesota.
Okay, that's a good clue. Maz, go ahead.
Walter Matthau.
Good. MJ, you got one?
elderly, unhappy folks.
Grumpy old men.
Wow.
That's
Was
me.
it Minnesota? Was it
was.
Minnesota?
Yes, it was.
Very good.
Were they
Tom, well
ice
done.
fishing?
Well done. So you actually did pretty good for being concerned about winter weather movies. I was kind of impressed with all that.
Penguins.
Yeah.
All right, so Tom, do me a favor. How can listeners
that's the
find
clue I
you
should've
on
given.
social media? And also, how can they see your snowflake photography?
Yeah, okay. So snowflakes, if you go to Facebook, go to Mother Nature's Snowflakes. And that's where I put my photos. You can find me just at Tom Niziol on Facebook and at Tom Niziol on Twitter. And if you go to weather.com or Weather Underground, I'll be on there once in a while, penning out some nice articles. Probably in the next week, I'll be putting out an article on how to photograph snowflakes.
Oh, sweet.
Can I ask him real quick? Tom, do you really believe no two snowflakes are alike?
Well, I don't believe in aliens. I
Wait a minute.
Penguins.
I'll keep looking for you. If I
All right,
find one,
okay.
I'll let you know.
All right, well, tell you what, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take our final break. And, of course, coming up next are some unbelievable hashtag weather fools and WX resources. Penguins.
We've got several possible show titles coming.
Oh, good. Hey, Tom, quick question. Do you want to stick around or are you heading out?
You'd like me to do. I'm here. for
Hey,
you.
if you want to stick around for these last two segments, maybe 15 minutes, great.
Sure.
You can
Yeah.
chime in
Yeah.
and
Sticker.
Pop
We
that
can do
beer.
that.
you
Yeah.
you can be a freak and make funny
have a
comments in the background. So that's
Oh,
that's your job.
I'd always wanted to do that.
Okay.
The freaks made me do it.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. So Maz, you've got hashtag weather fools.
I do.
So here's what I'm gonna do. So when we come back in, I'm going to play. And then I'm gonna start the applause, and then you can come in, okay?
All right.
Just so you know how I'm gonna do that.
All right.
So who's got weather fools? I've got 4.
Whoa.
4,
I've got
Yeah.
I've got 3.
Wow.
3.
I got 6. Okay, come on.
All right,
What?
Tom, it might be 20, 25
name
minutes.
that
maybe.
tune.
I got
Holy crap!
I know.
It's 10 o'clock. Okay,
Okay,
that's my bedtime.
who else? Kim, anything? Maz, of course
I have
not.
weather
No,
resource.
you guys got 7 already. No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So, all right. So, Greg and Phil. And then it's episode 99 show notes. And then WX Resources. Greg, as long as we haven't lost you, you can introduce WX Resources.
Sounds good.
Maz, you can just kind of flip it over to him when you're done. And so introduce what it is, which is just any great website, photo, video, equipment, whatever. That's cool. I have a weather resource.
I have one as well.
Greg, Kim, anybody else with a double? Tom, you want to chime in with any good WX weather resource?
Modus, the Modus web satellite website. Is that what you're talking about? Something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Do you have a site? Do you have a site?
He already talked about his Snowflake site, but yeah, you can do whatever. That would be a cool site. And you guys know you can share your screen if there's something you want to show, like it's visual. You can go down to the bottom right now and you can click share screen, and then you may as well just share your entire screen and hit the share button at the bottom of that. Once you
Right
choose
now?
it.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
you can
Hey,
do it right now.
MJ, just give me a reminder when I go to my second screen, my second tab.
Yep.
Do I have to reshare it, or will
No.
it just pop up?
Well, let me see. Let's.
So if
what-
I switch right now to, so I've got this tab, the one I
see a-
sent you
I see
already.
an airplane now, right?
Yeah, and then
Yep.
if I went to this next one, you don't see that, do you? I have to
No, I
reshare
don't. So what
Okay.
you should do is share your whole screen.
Share
and then
your
just
entire
hit the
screen.
tabs.
it. Gotcha. Okay. Let me. I'm gonna unshare this then at the moment here. Then let's just.
Well, while you're doing this, I'm just going to put this up. And can
Yeah.
we just say shout out to Christine? I mean, she's up
Oh,
at
yeah.
3:55 a.m.
Wow.
again
It's
watching
not
us.
3:55 here.
Man.
Dang.
Yeah, exactly,
I gotta
Jay.
stop calling her Christine. I really do.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Sorry, Christine.
Okay.
Okay, so Greg, you'll do WX Resources. You got Phil, yourself, and Kim.
And that's after Weather Fools, correct?
Yep. So
Okay.
Maz will turn over to you. You can introduce it and then start going through each of us, and then remind them you can find the links on the episode 99 show notes, or a lot of times the podcast app you're listening to on your phone. The show notes are right there on the app. And then I'll turn it over to the Freak Fan Box, MJ, and we'll close it up.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Okay. Anybody got questions? Everybody ready? Your screen is sharing for those that need to share something.
Kim's isn't yet, but she's later. So
Yeah, I was going to wait. I can. Okay.
Well, you can put it up. Why don't you put it up now? So while we're recording, you're not trying to
Do you
do it
see it?
then.
Do you see it?
Shane was funny.
I do not know.
Okay, hold on. Let's see.
Oh, Shane.
Why in the world? I hit entire screen.
Shane, my brother-in-law's name is Shane, and
Ooh,
he's
once you hit entire
right down.
screen, Kim,
You have to hit
actually
share.
You have to click that little the actual screen. You have to click on it and then
the
hit share.
button again.
Yeah.
Do you see it? I did it. It didn't do it. Okay. It says, yeah, it should be showing. It says
Yes.
stop sharing. Okay,
I see it now. I do now.
Okay,
It popped
There we
up.
All
go.
right.
Bingo.
Yay.
Bingo. Yeah.
no skeleton.
It's sharing now.
Skeletons.
I'm sharing.
Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
Can you see my screen? Can you see
We'll bring
it?
the skeletons back. Okay.
Okay. Don't do that. All right. So I'm bringing Maz in. In 3, 2.
All right. Hey, as Kim would say, time now for hashtag WeatherFools. That hot and sexy part of the show, right? So, hey, WeatherFools, where people are doing just some dumb stuff. That's probably just the best way to put it. Greggles, you got what, 3 of them tonight?
Yeah, and I mean they're all related.
They're all related. Must be Canada.
They're all related to the storms that have been taking place. This big weather bomb event that happened in the UK, and so I've got a couple from Storm Dennis and one from Storm Sierra.
Are you showing it?
Oh, okay,
I see
everyone.
it. I see it.
All
Are
right.
you
Yeah,
playing
go for it.
You
All
gotta
right,
play
let
it.
me
You're
push
on,
play. Here we
Dennis.
go. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So this is a
Oh.
A380 landing, and it's doing what's called crabbing, where it's coming down the runway, coming
My
to approach.
God.
He's
He's sideways. He's
Oh no, he's gonna turn. Oh,
Oh,
Could you
So-
imagine being on that plane right now?
No, that's
Oh.
where the weather fools part of this comes in. It's like I get it that they can land that plane, but come on.
that's
Like,
when the stewardess says, I told you, turn off the electronics.
And this next one is from Storm Sierra,
Oh,
and on this one you're actually seeing an A380, an Emirates A380, but it's now taking off from Birmingham in a strong crosswind. You'll this one is hard
Oh, see, I
stopping.
haven't seen one taken off. I've
This
seen
is
them all
this is
landing.
hard stopping.
And he's going up, and he's turning into
look
it
at
right
that.
now.
It's just
Like I just
sideways.
can't even
It's like
imagine
swimming
being on
against
that
a
airplane.
current.
It's just crazy.
You're having to totally swim in the opposite direction just to go straight.
Yeah, and so I mean, again, I understand
Wow.
that the pilots train for that stuff,
Yeah,
but I would
sure.
not want
Kudos
to be
to
on
them,
that
but
airplane.
yeah, weather
I
fools are the
agree.
people on the.
I gotta
that
tell
chose to
you,
fly.
I had a flight that landed like almost like that once. It was an Air Canada flight actually, but it was landing in Minneapolis, and it was nuts. So
Oh,
I'm quite happy. I'm a fair weather flyer. Anyway,
We
this-
shared. Hey, Greg, we did share on our Stormfront Freaks Twitter account a video today of a passenger on a plane like that, taking video of everybody kind of screaming and freaking out, and in the background you hear.
Phil, I saw that on Twitter and I liked it and I had to laugh. Because I knew what I was going to be presenting tonight. This third one is also from Storm Sierra, and this was the first of the two. There was Sierra and then Dennis came through. And in this one, the big story in Sierra was the waves and some of the imagery that came out of the waves was amazing. But what makes this a weather fool is this guy was trying to surf in it.
Of course.
Oh no.
Oh Lord.
In what? What's it? Where are the waves? Where,
Oh my God.
where's the
There
break?
it is.
There you go.
There's the break right
You're
on top
out.
of him. Is he going out or is he trying to get back in? Because
I don't know what he's trying to do, but he does have a surfboard with him.
As I said, I tell you, he's going out, but
Yeah.
Yeah, quickly.
Now, the
That's
other
what
thing
he's
that
trying
makes
to
this the other thing that makes this incredibly foolish, guys, is this is the North Atlantic. We're not talking about Maui. We're not talking about, the Caribbean stuff. This is the North Atlantic, and I can only imagine how cold that water is. But surfing's probably a lot of fun, but that guy's an idiot.
Beach Boys
that was
weren't singing
good.
about the Atlantic.
Yeah. All
The
right,
North
Phil,
Atlantic.
how many you got?
I've got 4, so I'm going to just kind of rattle them off
right.
one at a time. So we're on Storm Sierra. This, of course, was also Storm Sierra, and these were some golfers that decided let's hit the links. What the heck? Might be a little windy. And there goes his little golf bag on wheels. Goes flying down, and then he trips over the umbrella on his way to stop his golf clubs.
Oh, Phil, that's got to be a setup.
That's a good one.
It could be. It looks a little. But I don't know about the trip. Like when he trips over that, I don't know that that's a setup.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So that was a whoops on that one. All right, next one. We've got another horrible contractor that I want to share with you. So this one goes back to Hurricane Harvey. There was a contractor, if the website decides to pull up here, that pled guilty for stealing from Hurricane Harvey victims. So this is a contractor, went in, said, hey, we'll repair your home, we'll repair whatever. He stole $180,000 from 26 Hurricane Harvey victims. Wow. Basically took their money and left, never did any of the work, never came back. So it's just a reminder, if anybody is ever in a storm and has storm damage, hail damage, anything like that, don't just go with the guy or the gal that shows up at your door the next day and says, hey, do you need help repairing? We'll put everything in with your insurance company, but go ahead and pay us this or that. Check the Better Business Bureau, check with neighbors and local folks that would know people that can do that. Don't just go with the person that shows up. So boom. All right, BBC. We're talking Storm Dennis, and the title on this one, BBC viewers, Kim, in hysterics over X-rated Storm Dennis warning map in Wales. So if you go through this article, this is from the Daily Star. There is a map that looks a little suggestive.
Wait, I'm not seeing it yet.
I've never seen a map like that before.
And what's funny is they call it the amber warning was unfortunately shaped like a penis. But apparently in the UK it's called an amber warning, but it's an amber looking penis on the map. So they're a little upset about that. And then the last one is another video, of course. This is from Tuscaloosa in their recent flooding they've had down south. Yep. Can't have a weather fool without a turnaround, don't drown image. Yep. And that you could tell that water is like moving too. I mean, there's some movement to that. You can't see the road; it's muddy water. Yeah. Who knows if he plows off into something? But
the guy filming this is really hoping this goes bad.
It's true.
He's just like, hey, I want to get on Weather Fools. Let's go ahead and let's videotape you going across that.
And they did. So so if you'd like to check out those links, and there's a couple of them, you absolutely have to click on those links. Go to stormfrontfreaks.com, episode 99 in the show notes section, or you can even do it on your podcast app as well. Greg, what do you have? Hashtag what?
I got hashtag weather resources, hashtag WX resources, and
you're slur that a little bit.
Weather sources.
Hey, I'm down to the bottom of the glass.
Have another drink.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start off with Kim. Kim, you had a weather resource for us.
I do. And do you guys see it first of all before I start talking about it?
Yeah.
There? Okay, good. All right. So this is mountain-forecast.com.
It looks so awesome.
It is an awesome website. And I found this because we were just up in North Carolina, near Bryson City in a cabin. I was looking like the weather because we were going to be up about 3,400 feet. And I thought, oh, let's see if I can find something that talks about the weather in the mountains. And sure enough, I found this website. And it's really cool because you can actually put the range, and some of it's around the world. You could put the sub range and also the mountain if you know the name of the mountain in there, and it'll take you there. So I did that, and I'm gonna hopefully you guys will see it. Do you see it? It says Klingman's Dome.
Mhm.
Okay, this is in the Great Smoky Mountain chain, and I went there because I thought, this is actually a cool place. If nobody's ever hiked this is a great place to hike. But the information I thought was really great on
Wow, yeah.
going there because it gives you a day-by-day forecast. It gives you the wind speeds, but also gives you weather maps. So these are for people, I think, that are doing some serious hiking, or even maybe just going up there for, going to a cabin. But it gives you a little synopsis of the weather for 0 to 3 days or 3 to 6 days out, telling you the temperature, maybe what the wind's going to be, if there's any kind of advisories. But it also gives you the snow forecast. But also by elevation, it tells you where the freezing level is. So depending on what you're hiking, if you're a hiker, you can look at this and see, okay, when I get to, let's say, eventually by Friday, we're going to see temperatures at 6,000 feet in the 30s. So it's a great way to look to see what elevation you're at, to see what the temperature is going to be in that. But also it gives you some weather stations around the area, some of the temperatures and the winds and things like that. And it does just have a disclosure, though, that, of course, it's not perfect forecasting, and that some areas you're going to be in, it's going to be a little more difficult.
It has to have a disclosure to explain.
There's
that.
a disclosure, yes. But yeah, I think it's a pretty decent website. I mean, I haven't done a lot of search on it, but I thought it was pretty good. What I was looking for.
Tom, did you know about that? You would probably love that.
Yeah, I've actually used it a couple of times
There you go.
For Roan Mountain here in Tennessee, and it's great, Kim.
Good. I'm glad to have your approval on that. Awesome. Okay, that's
What
it.
would Franklin have thought all those years ago with all that technology, Tom?
Can you imagine that? I mean, can you imagine any of them thinking all of this technology that we're using right now? Wow, it would be great. Yeah.
Phil, I think you had a weather resource as well.
I do. So this one is from Twitter, and this is a video from Bob Kitt. This was actually shared with us from SWX Clicks, so thank you there for that. But this is actually showing what apparently is called, and this is new to me, but it's called a jumping sundog. So if you look right at the middle of the screen, you will see a little sunlight. You see how that thing's swaying? It's like a little beam of sun that will sway back and forth, will jump in a different direction every once in a while.
Wow.
And what I initially thought this was maybe just the clouds moving, and the clouds moving was adjusting that refraction of the sunlight. Come to find out from our friends, the tornado trackers, it's called a jumping sundog, and it's from the lightning in this approaching thunderstorm.
Really?
The lightning, that electricity is basically realigning the ice crystals. So every time there's a lightning strike, the ice crystals are quickly realigning, because you see how it jerks, that little sunbeam jerks. And that's what it's from. It's from the lightning realigning these ice crystals and changing them that's what's changing the refraction of the sunlight.
Very cool.
It's not
You
too
sound like
age-old
a
freshman.
I know the rabbit hole I'm going to be going down on Google tonight.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
I think that's amazing. I don't know, Kim or Tom, if you guys have ever seen that.
I've never seen it.
That's
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Oh.
Anybody else got any weather resources before I go into mine?
Tom, were you going to share one?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure if I can share my screen. Does that work for y'all?
Yeah, we see Great Lakes there.
Perfect.
Yeah, so this is NASA's Worldview screen. These are polar orbiter satellites, and it's flashing on me. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to go around the world and to zoom in very closely to amazing features anywhere around the world using polar orbiter satellite. I love this site. Again, it's NASA's Worldview site. And if you get a chance, go to that. And you can spend all day just looking all
Is
around
it
the world.
subscription based, Tom, or is that a free site that anybody can access?
This is all free, and you can go back on a daily basis, I believe 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
One thing I like to do is
Cool.
I love to look at lake effect snow around the world. So I oftentimes go over here into Japan and see what's going on. We can just click through here, going back day by day, and get these views. There's a nice little storm there coming into the Japanese highlands. So it's NASA's Worldview site, and that's my resource for today.
And Greg,
Oh,
it's
what
free. It's unless you're in Canada.
It is free.
Yeah, there's a tariff or something.
There's a
Whatever.
form you have to fill out to access. it.
Whatever. All right, here I'll end the weather resources segment with I've got a Pivotal Weather up here, and one of the tools I love on Pivotal Weather, and as we move into upcoming storm season on the plains and in Dixie Alley here over the next couple of months, one of the favorite tools that I like to use is the forecast loop, where you can actually take your cursor and you can actually roll. And in this case, I'm doing the 500 millibar winds and height, and just doing a nice little forecast loop, taking you all the way out to 384 hours, which we all know 384 hours. Lock it in.
Real accurate.
Lock it in. But it is nice to be able to see what the forecast is showing for for features that are coming up. And again, you can use this in any one of the tools. 850 winds, you can do the same thing. You can use the forecast loop. So it's one of my favorite tools during storm season.
Tom, is that the February thing you were talking about that's coming up?
Yes, it probably is the end of February. And by the way, Pivotal Weather, that site's great. And I believe they now have European model ECMWF forecast soundings. You click anywhere on that map and you get a forecast sounding. It's
Oh, wow.
I love Pivotal Weather. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. And again, they you can do this same forecast loop as well on any of the parameters that you have listed on Pivotal. So it's fantastic.
Nice.
Cool. Well, you can catch, I think we're going to be able to catch all those links. If you want to get links to those great WX resources, again, just go to our episode 99 show notes, be on our website, stormfrontfreaks.com, or a lot of times right on if you're listening to us on your phone, your podcast app will a lot of times have the show notes right there, and the links will be right there for you too. So, all right, let's jump over, see if we can check our mail.
Me a postcard, drop me a line.
You've got mail, baby, yeah.
All right, MJ.
All right, the Freak Fan Box is had a few things in it this past couple of weeks. At the Funky Girl, get ready for this one. Storm chasing, where I learn about everything from vaginal steaming, thanks Tornado Greg, to the Hawaii chair. I couldn't stop laughing at the video. So I guess I really missed something last week. I don't know. That's the last episode. Thank you, Funky Girl.
I saw that. I was like trying to remember, when was Greg talking about that?
I don't remember that.
I don't know.
It was
Seems like
obviously at
something
the
I
end
would
of the
talk
show.
about, though.
It does
was
sound
near
something
the end
like
of the
yes.
show.
Probably his accent. They sound
All
so
right.
different up there.
So, yeah, that's not at all what he said. All right, at GPB George says at Ginger Z, thank you, great podcast. She's terrific. So thanks, George, for checking in. Our friend, I think this is Jay at Turbulent Skies, says 4 hours in the studio today on the whip, 2 of which were catching up on Stormfront Freak podcasts, with a special appearance by Trollbot 5000 interpreting Michael Binsky.
Oh, she's a classic, man. She's a
That
fan
is-
favorite
yes.
now.
Thanks for that. I know tonight we had a couple of our folks watching that were hoping for Trollbot 5000 again, but
Tom, you got to listen to an episode with Weather Trollbot 5000. I'll send you a link to one of them.
No,
They're
you
classic.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't do it, Tom. Don't do it.
I can't wait.
I warned you.
And then finally, at the Dry Line 1 says, if you haven't listened to the At Stormfront Freak podcast, tune in to the 100th episode. An excellent podcast, definitely worth the listen. Thanks a ton for the shout out, Dryline. And thanks for the 100th episode plug. And please check out stormfrontfreaks.com to find all of our past episodes and info about upcoming episodes. That's the Freak Fan Box for this week.
And checks in the mail. Dryline just
Were they forecasting our 100th episode is going to be that good? Is that what they were saying?
I think
they are,
forecasting.
but you know how the forecasts are. It's
not
sure.
kind of a crapshoot sometimes.
Yeah.
Shane made the comment that there's the 1 to 3 day, there's the 4 to 5 day, and then there's Narnia.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Forecast.
It's fantasy.
You know,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I will share this, Tom. That was actually one of the movies
Narnia?
on my list. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as a winter movie.
Let's do it.
But I scratched it.
Closet. All right.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry.
Scary
winter.
Lady,
Bad
Lion.
Roaring Big Cat. Okay, well, hey, I think that just about does it for this episode of Stormfront Freaks podcast. I want to thank you all for listening and watching. Before I announce our next guest, which I've kind of already done, so the cat's out of the bag there, but we do want to tell you, hey, if you love what you're listening or watching to, give us some great reviews. Whatever the app is or the program is that you're watching or listening to us on, we love those. And if it's a written one, especially on like Apple Podcasts, things like that, we'll share that on our next show. And subscribe too. If you like this, hit the subscribe button. It just guarantees that when we issue the next show, it'll show up right in your podcast inbox, so you can start listening. And of course, that's all free. Special thanks tonight to our guest, Tom Niziol.
Yeah.
Tom,
Tommy.
thank you so much.
Shizzle. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Tom.
The Nizzle stick.
Tom, you're awesome, man. We got to get you back sooner.
I'd love to come back. Thank you.
We'll definitely get you back. But thank you so much for taking the time. And our next episode, we're going to be recording live on YouTube on a special day to celebrate our 100th episode and National Weather Podcast Month. It's going to be on Friday, March 7th. So mark your calendar. It's going to be a day later than normal. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, so normal time. But we're all going to be live. Well, most of us. We're all going to be live together with you in Oklahoma City at the Vanessa House Beer Company. And our special guests include TV weather legend Gary England and the WCM in Norman, Rick Smith. So we're going to be excited about that. We hope you can join us. But if not, we will try to record that and broadcast that as well.
It should be okay. Should be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Is there beer? Will there be beer?
I'm going to forecast,
We got our
because of the beer, the Stormfront Freaks Pale Ale, I'm going to forecast that it's going to be a pretty damn good time.
There you go.
That's my forecast. But for MJ, Maz, Kim, Greg, and Tom, I'm going to go ahead and signal the all clear. We'll catch you guys next time for our 100th.
Bye.
Right
Good
on.
night, everybody.
Oh, centenarian.
All right, Tom, thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
Yeah, Tom. Thank
Hey,
you.
thanks everybody. Hey, Kim, great to see you again.
You too, Tom. I enjoy looking at your tweets on Twitter with all the pictures and everything from your mountain.
There you go. Thank you.
I
Y'all
enjoy it.
take care. Boy, enjoy your time in Oklahoma.
We will, Tom. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Thanks
Tom.
for joining us.
Hasn't Tom been on before?
Yeah.
So he only
Yeah.
said, good to see you, Kim, and the rest of us were what? Chopped
Yeah,
liver?
that's fine.
Yes, top minute.
Close.
It's
all right.
good to
Aren't you
see
used to
Yeah,
all
good
of
to
you.
see you, Tom, too.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night, Tom. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Bye, Tom.
All right,
Yeah.
Bye
bye-bye.
bye.
All right, bye.
MJ,
Yes, sir.
will you be posting Tom's social media stuff as well?
Tell Tom to get his.
We will. Yes.
Kim, tell your mom
Yeah.
hi.
I will.
Hey,
She's
can you
sitting
guys?
right here with
hey,
me? Actually,
before I forget, I forgot before Tom left, but can you guys email me your links, your Weather Fools and Weather Resource links, please? Send me an email so I can get those in the show notes right away.
yeah, I'll do that.
If you can do that before you go to bed tonight, I would appreciate it.
You'd prefer it on email, or can I do it in the chat here?
I'd prefer it on email, just because if it's on chat, I'm gonna have to then
He's got to grab it.
grab it somewhere else and send it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Just drop it in
coming
email
at
if you
me.
can.
Yeah.
All right.
Doing it right now.
All right. So other than Kim and Greg, so I'm glad we at least got you on for the 99th because unfortunately we won't see you in 2 weeks. We'll miss you guys.
Yeah, both of
I
you are
know
going to be
you
there.
guys.
But I will send and I'll try and do it here soon. I'll try and send you both your T-shirt. I don't know how long, Greg, it'll take for yours to show up, but at least if you could have it
Couple months.
by the day we record the 100th, maybe you can take a selfie and say, "Hey, wish I was there" or something.
Well, and I'll
that'd
be
be
on
cool.
watching live and commenting too. So
Oh, of course. You
Oh,
will.
cool.
Talking about vaginal steaming. Right?
Vaginal
What
Steve.
the heck was
I
that?
don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't remember that. When did
No,
that
I
even come
definitely
up?
don't. That's why I figured it. Maybe it was last night. Greg
Oh,
froze.
he
but he'll be
conveniently
back.
froze.
Yeah, he can hear us, I
conveniently
think.
froze.
But yeah, conveniently.
So Kim, I'll get that T-shirt out to you.
There he is.
Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that.
We're gonna miss you, but have a good
know,
trip
you
down to
guys.
Florida.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Don't work too hard, okay?
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna try not to.
All
I'm
right.
going to Nashville, going to
Oh, no
Jacksonville, to
kidding.
Orlando.
Oh, geez.
It's a busy month, but I'm gonna miss you guys, and I love that they have a beer
Oh,
for you.
who did
guys.
that? Me?
That's so sweet. Anyway,
Yeah, that is
Phil will
pretty
bring
cool.
one back for you.
You're missing the pale ale.